Okay, so yes, we can start with coloring our bird and all the other elements that will be needed to create a lovely painting. And I'm sure you will all enjoy it. You can even grab some drink or any snack along. Just enjoy along. Just don't only learn, but yes, enjoy the watercolors. And you can let me know if you have any questions during the session or if anything is not clear. So just have your outline paper, and I have put a masking tape, the one I had already made. I have put the masking tape around. If you have it, you can put it. If you don't have it, it's okay. You can color along the edges as well. Now, what you can do is take your paint brushes and your paint set. You can take your Crayola ones. I have my own brand, but they will both serve the purpose that we need. You must be having a thin brush and a flat brush. We are mostly using the thin or the rounded one first, and the flat one will be used later on to do the background. So I'll start with the bird belly. And what you need to do here is, and I'm going to introduce you to the first technique of watercolors with this. It is called the wet on wet technique. So, in wet on wet technique, if you have already joined the session before, we have done watercolors. So, you might be knowing them already, but I would love to tell you all what it is. It's quite relatable to what we are going to do. So, we are going to dip. I hope we all can see this. So, I'm going to dip my brush in water and I'm going to just put water on my paper. So, this is a place I'm going to put it somewhere around the belly of the bird. I know you won't be able to see the water, but yes, it's just around the belly and somewhere to the center of the belly. I've just put water to introduce you to the wet on wet technique. So the base is wet, and then I'm going to use some blue color. So just dip your brush again in water and take your blue color, whichever shade you have, light or dark. I think you should be having a dark one. And your base was wet already, and you wet your brush and take some blue color on the brush. So that's why it is called the wet base and wet brush technique, which in short we call it wet on wet technique. Now you can just using the tip of the brush, just let this blue color spread in its own way. If you think it's getting a little lighter, take more and then keep on adding more. So mine has spread nicely on its own. Now we don't have to leave it like this. We are going to wash the brush again, dip and dab it. That means you have to put it in the water and then just dab it with a paper towel so that it is completely dried and there is no blue color on it. Now, next, what you can do is dip it again in water a little bit, just the brush with no color on it, and you can try to spread this blue color so that there is a gradient touch in your bird. Initially, it is a little dark, and later on, it gets a little lighter, giving a gradient touch to your work. Now, just give a little shape along the outline and keep the place near the outline little darker and make the inside getting lighter using your brush with a little water on it. Now you can again wash your brush, that is dip and dab it. Just put it in water and clean it with the paper towel. Now your brush is dried. You can use the dry brush technique here. Here you are just moving your brush, just rubbing it on top of the edge or where the blue color ends on your bird. So this area we are just making a soft edge. Initially it was a little bit hard. You could see a line on the paper with that color. Now, just by rubbing it with your dry brush, it will help in absorbing any extra color, any extra streak of line. And this way, it will give a nice touch to your bird. I hope everyone is good with this till this part. If you have any questions, please let me know. And or else we can continue further. Or if you have any questions, you can even put it in the chat. Okay, let's continue to the next part, that is towards the neck. So now for the neck, again, we are going to use the wet on wet technique. And again, just clean your brush so that it doesn't have any blue, and dip and dab it. Now again, take some water on your brush and go towards the neck of your bird. So as you can see here, I'm just turning it around for everyone to see clearly. So around the neck, just add some water, only water. And we can take a little bit of purple color, whichever light or dark you have. Mine is quite dark. I'm taking a little bit on the tip of my brush and letting it spread. So here I'm just using the tip of my brush to spread, as you can see, and let the color flow on its own first. So that's what the uniqueness of watercolors is, that you can let it spread on its own, and then once it has spread on its own, you can just clean your brush again, dip and dab it, and use the dry brush again around the edges of the color and move the brush towards the color so that any extra color gets absorbed in the brush and it fades out towards the edges to give a nice gradient touch and soft edges to your color. So I hope this part is also clear. I'll just zoom it up. Yes. And now the area where purple and blue is meeting, you can again use the dry brush technique and give a faded touch in between the two colors so that there is no hard edge. I hope you understand what is hard edge. When a kind of a line forms in between two colors which doesn't help to connect both the colors, we need a very soft edge so that that line goes away. For that, we can just use a dry brush to let any extra color get absorbed and blend in both the colors. And even on the top, I see a very hard edge on my purple color. So again, I'm using the dry brush technique towards that color to take away that hard line that is forming around it. Though we will use another color. In case your base gets dried up and you're not able to take the line away or the hard edge away, you can take just water and put it on top. And then again, you can clean the brush and use your dry brush to take away, because the base has got a little wet and it's easy for you to take away any hard line there. I hope this is clear and I hope you all are enjoying too, because I just don't want everyone to learn but enjoy as well. I know I have been seeing a lot of thumbs ups before, but today I'm not seeing any. Can I see a few? So that I'm sure everyone is enjoying. I know you all must be busy. Yeah. Okay. So now it's kind of layering. We used blue, now we used purple. And let me just, I know I have to switch off the video every time to zoom in or zoom out. Okay. Now, next is layering with another color. That is red. So, before that, do one thing. If you have purple here in between, you can use just water to spread in this purple throughout your face or head of your bird. I didn't ask you to do that earlier because I didn't want a very dark purple around the face. So now you can use just water to spread it in. And even if there are any edges there, it will all go away. So this is all base shading that you are giving to your bird. We are going to add a little details and outline to it later. So just with water, I have spread that purple a little so that it gives a very even touch. And now since the base is already wet, somewhere above the purple color, under the eye, as you can see where I'm pointing to, you can take some red color. Don't take too much, take very less initially and maybe check it on your paper towel how it is. Is it too bright or is it too light? I think starting with a little lighter would be best, and just put it on top of the purple color. I think if nobody is able to see, I'll just zoom it. Take little red, check it on the paper towel that you have, that how much bright it is. Start with a very light shade as I'm doing, and using the tip of the brush, I'm letting it spread. Okay. And once you are done, you know now you can use the dry brush. Clean your brush, just dry your brush, and use that dry brush on top of the last color, that is the red color you used. Just rub on it so that it gives that shade, but at the same time, it blends in with the previous shade or the base shade. Is it working for everyone or not? If not, I can show this part again on some other element. Are you all good? Now we are coming to the wing. So for the wing, again, we are going to use the wet on wet technique. Just wet your wing completely, wing of your bird completely with water, no color. So just wet it. Again, we are using the wet on wet technique. And now next, what we need to do is some red color. So we can take the same red, and as I said earlier, check how dark or how light the color is. It's better to start with a lighter shade of red. So just check it on your paper towel and see, is it too bright? I think a little bit of has it has gone on the paper. So let me do once more. I think this much is good. So just use your judgment how light you want it. Always start with a lighter shade and then keep on adding more. So now I'm going to add it along the edges of the wing. So you can see I'm using the tip of the brush and letting the red spread on one side of the wing. And now taking more, checking the consistency, checking the brightness on the paper towel, I'm going to add it towards the other side of the wing. So you can see I am still leaving a little bit in the center and then covering both the edges inside the wing. Now I'm thinking of adding a little bit more brightness. So that then I can progress to a little bit dark red and let it spread. So you can see it's getting a little brighter here. And then keep on adding these dots of red, and they will spread on their own since the base is wet and we are applying the wet on wet technique. Now just go along the outline as you can see on the screen. I'm just giving that finer outline with the brush around the wing. Now again, we can use the dry brush technique here where you can just clean your brush and then go towards the layer of color that you've added, the darker layer of color that you've added, and just fade it out. Same way you can add it to the other side of your wing. Add a few dots. So always use the tip of the brush to add a few dots, and they will spread on their own because the base is wet. And then you can use the dry brush to give a little direction and to absorb extra color and to give a faded out touch or a blended touch to the element that you are coloring. So inside I've given a little shine of white, and on the outside I have given some red effect. If you want to completely add red, you can add some red color inside or in between the wing too. But let it dry now, and later on we'll give a little details to the wing. Now what should we do? I think the face might have dried by now. So what we can do is around the top, that is the head of the bird, we can add just water first, just along the outline. Just add some water and take some blue. and let it spread along the outline. Again, use the tip of your brush to make it spread. And now it has got a little hard edge. So what I'm going to do here is use my dry brush. There is no color, no water, and move it or rub it towards the blue shade that I've added. It will absorb any extra blue and any hard edge and still leave a little bit of blue effect around the head. Just go towards the new color that you've added, the wet base, and then keep on rubbing your brush. So this way you have added layers of colors one over the other in watercolors, which seems to be a little tough, but as you start doing it, you'll get a hold of it. Now the base shading for the bird is done. I think the belly part is also dried and my wing has also dried. So just check by touching with your finger that everything has dried. Then we can give a little detail to our bird. And for that, we will need a thin brush with a nice tip. If you don't have a thin brush, just use the same brush that you are using, but use the tip of the brush as much as you can because details are good with the thin tip. So for that, we need to use the dry on dry technique. So this dry on dry technique is, as the name suggests, when you use very less water on your brush and activate the color that you are going to use for outlining, and with a very dry base, you're adding that color. So that's why it's dry base and dry brush technique because your brush is very less wet. So for that, we are going to give a little outline to the blue area of the bird. So just dip the tip of your brush and take the blue color and just activate blue. So by activation, I mean just use less water, enough for making your blue color get active. And it just check it on your paper towel that its consistency is quite thick for creating an outline. And it should not be too much watery. That's what we need. Let me just do it again. Just absorb it on your paper towel. So with the tip of my brush, I'm giving a little outline at the on the belly part. So here I am not dragging my brush. I'm just giving a little overlaps or layers one over the other. Not throughout. I leave a little gap and then I give an outline with the tip of my brush and go towards the beak. Now I'm going to give a little outline towards the head. So I'm just giving a few strokes one over the other. And we are done with the outline, but yes, we don't need to keep this outline as it is. We can clean our brush again and we need to kind of blend in this outline with the inside area, with the inside color, because we don't need such prominent outline. So just clean your brush and wet your brush again a little and just rub it on top of the outline that you have already done. Don't rub it too much with very less pressure, just rub on top so that the outline stays, but at the same time, it's not that detailed, it's not that prominent. It gets a little softer edge and it blends it in with the inside color. Let me take some more water. So, for the water, you need to judge it by yourself how much you need to blend in that outline a little. And we are done with the blue outlining. Now we can do the red outline. So for that, you again have to do the dry on dry technique and you just need to activate the red color and just check it on your paper towel how it is. And now you can use the tip of the brush again for the wing to be outlined. And as you can see, I am not dragging my brush. I'm overlapping each stroke to give a finer outline to the wing. And you remember when we were sketching, I added a few strokes inside. You can just overlap some red brush strokes on top of it and just use very less pressure, like a brush stroke, for each of these details. The lesser pressure you add to the brush, the thinner the outlines are. And maybe connect it somewhere in between. So, just to give a little feather touch on the wing that we are doing this. And once you are done with this, if you don't want to show these outlines very prominently, you can again use a little wet brush, a clean brush, and then wet it a little and rub it on top of each of these outlines or strokes that you've given on top of the wing. So this gives a little soft edge to any hard edged element that you have created. Just rub on it a little and it will give a little softer touch to it. I hope everyone is enjoying too. And I'm more worried about the enjoying part than the learning part because I'm sure you are learning. So if a thumbs up or any emoji would be good too. So we are done with the wing. I think we are left with the eye and the beak. I'm just giving a little bit softer touch here to the wing. So just to show you that you can also do the same if you want softer edges in your wing. Even somewhere hard edges. Hard edges means if there are a few lines in between, they will also look good in a wing. So are we good till now? Okay. Let's come to the eye and the wing. So what you need to do is, again, take the thin brush, activate your black color. And just take enough black on the tip of the brush and check it on the paper towel. With the tip of the brush, just give a little outline to the eye, one side, the other side, and inside. And then fill in the boundary. Leave a little white space so that it gives a nice eye texture. And now you can give outline to the beak and fill it in. And maybe extend this a little bit towards the face and the neck to show a little connection, and maybe a few outlines or curves around the eye, just to show a little natural or a furry texture around. Maybe on the belly part, you can add a few curves. And along the outline of the belly. So again, I'm doing it very lightly. Anywhere I want a little bit of black touch. And with this, we are done with the bird. Are we all good? Are you liking your birds?
Komal, do you want anybody to show their birds at this point?
Yes, I would love to. I was thinking, but I was hesitating because maybe if theirs is not dried, they don't want to hold it up. Yeah, somebody asked paint has to be dry, otherwise it will bleed. Yes, definitely. That's why I asked you to touch every part of the bird that you have colored and see if it has dried. Then only add the outline, especially the black outline, because when it bleeds in, it's tough to take it off. I hope it helps. Now, I think we have left the tail. It's a very easy job to do. All you need to do is the wet on wet technique and little bit of blue on top. So the tail that you made, just add some water on top of the tail And then take some blue color and put it on top. Let it spread, let it stay within of the tail, and then give a little direction with your brush. And later you can use the dry brush for any extra color to absorb and to give direction to your color within the tail part. I think that's a very easy part out of the entire bird that you've created because it's just one layer. Maybe if you want to darken it, you can take a little bit more blue and add it to the edges and then give a little direction to it. Then again, use the dry brush and we are done with the tail. Let it dry and then we can give a little detail to it or a little outline to it. But let it dry completely. Till then, I would love to show you a loose flower because it requires a little practice to actually get a little hold of it. But yes, once you start with the first one and then you come up to the second one, there will be a lot of progress as you practice. So I would like to show you right now, and then we can do the branch of on which our bird is sitting. So for this, you will need your thin brush or the one like this one, not too much thin, but one that has a good amount of bristles, a rounded one, we can say. And I'll start with a red flower. So you can watch along. Each petal is the same way, but once you see the first petal, how I'm doing, you'll be able to continue doing the rest of the petals in the same way and the same techniques. So I'm using the red color for this flower. You can use any color of your choice. I'm just dipping the tip of my brush and in water and taking some red on the tip of my brush, and I usually call it as a three dot technique to create a flower. So maybe I'll create it somewhere here in front of my bird. One dot, then I'll take more, second dot, and third dot, and as you can see I have shaped it in form of a triangle. And now you can clean your brush again. So dip and dab your brush, clean it nicely, and again wet your brush. So your brush is clean and you have just put some water. Use this brush to spread these dots. So now you can see how I'm doing it and then you can follow along. So I'm using the tip of the brush and moving my brush in an uneven way or in a wiggly way. I'm just rubbing the red dot and just moving my brush to give a nice petal shape using that small red dot that I created. Now the base is wet, so I want to use that wet base. I'll take a little bit more red on my brush and let it spread from inside to outside like this. Now I'm quickly going to clean my brush, dry it nicely, and move towards the next layer of red that I've added so that it kind of blends with the background and at the same time it gives a darker effect in the center. So this is how we use the dot to spread it in the form of a petal, use that color and faded it out as it goes outwards and create a nice loose petal. But it need not be exactly the same shape that I have created. It can be a little bit different for you too. Now we are going to follow the same technique to spread the second dot, then the third dot. So I hope you got a little bit idea of how to do it. So you can try it. I'm going to start the next dot, that is the next petal, wet my brush and spread this dot. Almost the same size as the first petal. Now use some red again and spread it inside. Now I'm going to dry my brush and give a little direction to the flower. Now I'm done with two petals. Now I have to do the third petal. So I'm just turning around my paper because I'm more comfortable spreading it this way. I hope everyone is clear. You might not be satisfied with your first flower, but don't get disappointed. As you come to the next one, try again with another color. It takes a little bit of practice because I have experienced the same. So a thumbs up would do if everyone is good, but definitely I'm repeating it so you can see how I'm doing it. I have wet my brush again, and then again I'm spreading this dot. Then again I'm taking little red and letting it spread. So I'm using the wet on wet technique and then the dry brush to give a little good texture to my petal. So three petals are done. I have a little space on the left and the right. Maybe if I'll turn it around, I have some space on the left and the right of my flower. So I can still add two more petals in between. That will make it a five petal flower. But in case you don't want to make it five, you just want to keep it three petals, you can start with just three petals. But I'll show you the rest of the two petals too. So I'll again activate my red color and add two dots on one and the second part. And then again, I'll clean my brush and wet it again and spread this dot outwards, leaving a little space from the rest of the petals that are around it. Then take some red again and let it spread. And now dry my brush. Now these steps are quite quick because we need a wet base to do all these steps. That's why I'm doing them a little quickly. But I'll be repeating this flower again for all of you in case you're not able to follow. Now I'm wetting my brush again and spreading my fifth dot and giving a nice uneven texture to the petal, and then taking some red color, I'm just spreading it inside, and then with a dry brush I am giving direction to it. I hope you are getting a little hold of the flower. I think everyone is good. I can move to the next step. The next step is quite easy. I am just going to add a few dots in the center of this flower, and these dots can be either brown or black, some darker color. So I'm taking maybe black color. So again, it should be kind of activating the color so that the consistency is good and you're able to create some dots in the center. And even if some black spreads inside, it looks good. It gives a nice texture, but not too much of spreading inside the petal. So once you are done with this, and this giving dots or a dot texture anywhere in your painting is called stippling. I think I have said that earlier too. It's more of a colored pencil or pencil sketching technique, but you can definitely name it here too. It's called stippling or adding stipples to your work. Now, once you are done with this, you can let the flower dry, and later on we can give a little outline to the flower. And we can come, maybe I can show you the leaf as well. So for the leaf, just take your thin brush, dip your brush in water, activate the green color. Now I hope you understand what is activation. Just use less water so that your green color gets activated and you get a good amount of pigment on it, and it's quite thick. And add a curved outline on one side, then another, and then fill it in. Maybe give a little bit of gap inside to give a shine. And I have turned my paper a little bit because I'm more comfortable making the leaf this way. Make two curves and fill it in. Same way you can do on. So I usually do these leaves in pairs, one leaf and the other leaf, and in between the petals of the flower, so that you are able to cover in any space if needed. You can add more leaves if you want. It's a very simple process. Just add two curves, join them, and fill it in. So I'm doing one more, and I don't want to keep the leaves alone, so I make two in pairs. So once you are done with this, I also want to add little bit of effect to the bird. So quickly till our flower gets dried, just clean this brush. I think it has green on it. So clean your thin brush, dip it again in water, and add a few stipples around the neck of the bird, a little bit of red stipples or dots, and a little bit of purple stipples or dots. So I'm taking some red color. Again, I'm activating it and using the dry on dry technique. So mostly we have used the wet on wet and the dry on dry technique in this painting. And along the neck, I'm just adding a few dots. If you add less pressure, your dots will be smaller. If you add more pressure, your dots will be a little bigger, but it's your choice. You can add as many dots that look good on your bird. Now you can clean the brush again. I'm using the same colors that I have used on the base of the bird, that is the base shading, that is purple, blue, and red. So I'm going to add red, and now I'm going to add some purple dots here. So a mix of both the dots, you can extend them even towards the wing. And it adds a little connection throughout all the elements of your bird. And now we can quickly outline the tail of the bird because it has dried now. So with the blue color, again activating the color and using the dry on dry technique, I'm just going to give an outline to the tail. So you have seen that I've divided into 3, 4 sections. So you can give that outline with the blue color. And again, I'm not dragging my brush, I'm just overlapping each stroke. And now if you want to give a softer touch, you can wet your brush and then just rub it on top of the entire outline that you've done. Okay, so we are done with the entire outlining of the bird too. Now let's just quickly color the branch, and that will be all with brown color. And there is not much of technique there. It's just kind of wet on dry technique, where because your base is dried and you are wetting your brush and taking some brown color, that this we have always been using this technique, but we never know the name. So now you know the name. It's the wet on dry technique. And now you can just fill it in. Just try to stay within the outline and keep on spreading the color within the branch. That's the most easiest part. And now, if your base is wet, you want to darken the brown color a little bit more, you can use the same color on top and make it a little dark. For the twigs or the smaller or the thinner branches, you can use the tip to cover it and then keep on continuing throughout the branch. I think it's so quiet, and unless I speak, I should keep on speaking then. And since the branch doesn't require any technique, so I'm also quiet. It's just spreading the color within the branch. But I'm excited to see the entire painting, though, even if you're not able to complete it, we would love to take a picture, even of your work in progress. I'm almost done with the branch. And maybe after this, we can do one or two flowers just to show you the technique again. And then the background is quite simple. It's just wet on wet technique. So it will not take much of your time. The main part was the bird, and I'm glad we were able to even outline it during the session. I'm done with the branch. But yes, this is kind of base shading the branch. If you want to add more color later, you can add it with your watercolor, same brown color, and it will give a darker touch or a brown outline or brown touch to it, a darker touch to it. Okay, so I'm cleaning my brush now so that I don't have any brown color there. And I'm going to show you one more flower just to give you an like a little bit more overview of what how you can create it with another color. Again, the three dot technique. I think I'll be using a purple color now. So this is the purple color. It's quite dark. I'm just going to activate it and I'm going to add three dots here. Now I'm going to create this one under the branch near somewhere the tail, but be sure that you have enough space to create all these petals. So one dot, two dot, and the third dot in a triangular way. Now clean the brush completely so that there is no purple anymore here. Now dip the brush again in water. So I have water on my brush and I'm going to spread this purple dot and create a nice petal shape. And as you know now, I'm just going to add little bit more purple, spreading it in, and then using my dry brush, I'm just going to go towards this next layer so that it gives a nice texture and effect to my petal. Now we can move to the next dot, clean the brush, take some water again, and spread it. Spread it in the same shape and almost the same size as the last petal. So again, this is the wet on wet technique. That's why we take a little bit more purple and let it spread inside. And then give a little direction with your dry brush. I know I move my paper a lot, but it is more comfortable in one direction to create one element. So you can also do that. It gets a little bit quicker and more comfortable. Now I have cleaned my brush and I'm taking a little bit more water and spreading my third dot. Now the branch is a little bit near, so I'm trying to stay a little away from that brown color. And I was successful in that. Now I'll take a little bit purple and let it spread. And now use the dry brush to give a little bit faded touch and a soft touch throughout this petal. Now you can leave it as a three petal flower, but I would love to create two more in case you want to see, you can. So just take two more dots. I think I have enough space here, so I'll add these two dots in this one area only. But here I need to be a little bit more cautious that these petals, they need to be a little bit smaller so that they adjust within this flower. So I'm just adding some water and letting it spread. And then I'm cleaning my brush again, taking my water again, and spreading this dot within. So I'm adjusting it within the same flower and leaving a little gap in between. And now I'm just adding a little bit more purple inside all of these. And then with a dry brush, I'm going to give a little direction and texture to these. So I hope by now you must have understood why we are using the dry brush, because it helps in absorbing any extra color and it gives direction to the flower. And that's why we call them a loose flower, because there is no outline and we are just giving a little shape to it. Now you can just clean your brush, take your thin brush and add a few black dots inside it. Stay away from the petal because it's still kind of wet, but add a few dots in the white area inside the petals. And we are done with another flower. I just read a message. Fun way to paint flowers. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Okay, now you can add a few leaves. And I hope now everyone is clear, a little bit clear with for these flowers. You can keep on practicing if you want, add more flowers with different colors. But yes, you can add a few leaves now around them. For that, you just need some green color. And just make an arch, another arch, fill it in. Make another arch and fill it in. So keep on adding these leaves in between these petals, especially around those petals which have a little bit more space in between them. And next, what we can do is I can show you a little bit of the background and then a few stipples around the tree. Now just take your flat brush if you want, or maybe the rounded one, which has a good amount of bristles. You can just take some water and just dip your brush in water. And here we are just using the wet on wet technique. So you can spread some water on the top area. I'm just showing you a little patch of it so that you have an idea and you're able to color the background even after the session. So it's very simple. Just wet the background. And the background I have done blue. So just take some blue color on your brush and just use the tip to let it spread on its own. So here I'm just using the tip, quickly just moving it around on the water part, that is the wet base, and just moving it throughout and spreading it, making it a little lighter. And if you think it's too dark, what you can do is just take your paper towel and smudge on top wherever you feel like. And now you can again take your wet brush and spread it. Try to use the tip of your rounded brush and maybe put a little pressure with the tip to give that cotton texture for the sky area. What I call it as a cotton texture, but it's kind of a soft texture, just like the sky looks. And now I'm going to cover rest of the area same way, just to repeat and show you how it works. Just water now because my base was not that wet on the other side. And take some blue with the tip of the brush, let it spread. So I feel you can feel and you can see the magic of watercolors, the way the color spreads using the wet on wet technique. I love that. I hope you also enjoyed that part. And then you can just give a little direction to it. Earlier in the smaller areas, we did the dry brush technique. Here you can just use your paper towel and just smudge it on top so that it gives a lighter texture. And then again, you can spread it with your brush throughout. So if I do it slowly, it's just the tip that I am pressing towards the color and making it spread. And then I'm going to add more. And I know that it is dark. So what I need to do is just smudge it. And then again use my wet brush to spread it. So as you near the bird, just fade this color out because we don't want the bird color to spread in the background. And as you did on the top part, same way you can do on the bottom area for the background. And somewhere inside, you can very slowly just go around with some water and add some blue color. So I'm just showing you a little bit of each element so that you are able to complete your painting even later on. And then I'll just smudge it. And this way it became a little light and blended with the background. So I think this was all, but yes, we can add a few stipples around the tree, around the branch. For that, you can use red color, yellow color, any color of your choice to show a few small flowers or buds around. For that, you just need to activate your red color and use the tip of the brush to add a few dots around the branch. So, this is a very easy way of adding stipples and creating a nice background for your art that you are creating. So somewhere here, and then definitely you can fill up your painting with a few more flowers. Same way as I did them, maybe smaller, bigger, but try to follow the same technique. But let me know right now if you want me to repeat any step, any technique, especially if you want me to repeat the flower again, I can do it with some other color. But you can put it in the chat or just unmute and let me know. Maybe around here. Are we all good? Please don't hesitate for me to repeat any step.
Wow, it's beautiful. How's
Thank
everybody?
you. How is everyone? I hope I've been asking you every time. I hope you enjoyed.
Absolutely.